So we have Aman, we have Ayush, and we would be having Parag very soon with us, who would be the speakers for today's FDD job profile description. They would run you through about what exactly FDD profile is, what the on-ground work involves. Priya, can I request you to put everyone on mute?
Why isn't everyone on mute, guys?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, please continue, Chaitanya.
Okay, thank you, Priya. So, what exactly the on-ground work would be in FDD? What are the work hours? How to apply? What CV preparation requires, etc. So, not wasting much of time, I would like each of the three speakers to introduce themselves. So, I would start with Ayush. Ayush, over to you.
Can you hear me, Chaitanya?
Yes, a heads up. You can go ahead.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. I hope you are doing very well. So my name is Ayush Bora, and I'm working with PwC since my qualification. So it's been 2 years in PwC in the FDT profile. So I'll give you a background about myself. I'm uh, uh, I'm basically from Jaipur, and I moved to Bombay for my articleship in PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I did my 3 years of articleship there. I took a transfer from audit to FDD, and since then I'm working in FDD only. So first of all, I'll speak to you regarding what is FDD. So let's have a brief idea of what is contained in FDD and why people or why companies do FDD. So FDD, as you all might be knowing, FDD is financial due diligence. So whenever a transaction happens, like let's say Reliance is willing to acquire Just Dial, or some private equity firms are looking to acquire these private companies. So they so to before acquiring them, they conduct financial due diligence to know about the company or the historical financial performance of the company. So they would be analyzing their revenues, their balance sheet items, various credit periods, their margins, their inventory level, so that they get an idea of what to expect from the company in the given future, or should they be going ahead with the transaction, right? So that this is a background of what we do in why FDD is there. So they can so there are two types of financial due diligence we do. The financial due diligence can be done from the buyer side as well and from the seller side as well. So let's say Reliance is buying Just Dial. So Reliance will ask PwC to conduct an diligence on Just Dial's historical financial statements, and will report to Reliance that these are the numbers are flowing this way, or the EBITDA is this, working capitals are this. And Just Dial also like looking for investment can conduct an diligence, asking PwC to conduct a diligence before they approach the potential investors, and then they submit the report to various investors. Let's say 10 or 15 companies have shown interest in acquiring Just Dial. They'll give a report to those investors, and basis that these investors might want to go ahead with the transaction, or might want to conduct an independent financial due diligence from their side as well, right? So this is FDD. And so so FDD is can be for various sectors, like it can be for startups or very well established companies, can be in any sector: infrastructure, edtech, consumer, pharma, hospitals, any company you name it, any industry you name it. Companies generally, or private equities generally conducting financial due diligence. Yeah, having spoken for that much time, I would ask Aman to continue with the same.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you, Ayush. Yeah, by way of introduction, myself is Aman. I qualified my C examination in May 19. I done my articleship from Kalani and Company, Jaipur. And post that, I moved for the Delhi ICA campus, and I started my initial career with DLF. Actually, in the DLF, I basically engaged in the retail sector, retail portfolio content, DLF Cyber Hub, DLF Avenue, DLF Mall of India. We are basically engaged in each and every financial activity for all these portfolio. Actually, people are known DLF only for the construction activity, but this is not. The DLF has the portfolio of around 50% from their construction and 50% from their retail sector. So almost I spent there 2 years, and post that I joined PwC. In PwC, I'm also taking care. I'm part of the team member of the Ayush, but I'm particularly taking care of the sector which are retail, which are related to the real estate. So in basically in the real estate also, I would given a preference for the revenue generating models like retail sector, which contain the various kind of malls, various kind of offices instead of construction division. So basically, this is my background from I done from how I started, how I moved from industry to how industry to like a big four consultancy firm. So apart from that, if you want to know what is the FDD profile, so basically we can say that it is an advanced version of audit. The FDD contain the transaction advisory services in any other big four or in many other sector. People are calling is task like transaction advisory services. Transaction can be happen any kind of like even they if they are going to invest in the private equity, even if they are going to taking control stake via debt, even they are taking due diligence of vendor, it also can be kind of transaction. So basically there are two type of transaction. One is the buy side and the sell side. It's totally depend like who will appoint us. It will appointed by the target entity, like with we are going to acquire, or it's appointed by the target itself, because if the big four prepare any kind of report for them and then they will submit to the investor, then it make a very reliance on that to the investor also. So it's a totally depend upon what is the scope of the process. As I already told you, can everyone put on mute itself? Yeah. So there are basically two transactions, as I told you. It can be buy side and it can be sell side, and even sometime, for example, if there is a big entity which is going to taking service from a vendor, then there can also be the due diligence is going to be happen. In that case, there is no transaction. In that case, there is no merger, there is no acquisition. Like they're no going to invest in any kind of stake, but still they are going to conducting the due diligence. Like the vendor is going to provide the services, whether it will be able to fulfill the criteria or not, what will be the financial credit worthiness. And if I going to elaborate the more, like you have a general query, like even if the financial are already audited, then what is the need of due diligence? So literally speaking, there are many kind of adjustment. For example, according to the Ind AS 109, we created some asset. According to the Ind AS 116, according to the Ind AS 116, we created an asset in our book of account, like a right to use of asset. But these are basically not any kind of real asset for an investor is going to pay to the investee. Like if I'm going to acquire any kind of entity, I have the financial of that, then sure I will not pay any kind of amount for the prepaid expense. Like if I have any kind of unamortized brokerage, then why an investor will go to pay for that? Because it's a simply accounting entry. So for example, if we decided to do the valuation on the basis of asset, then surely I will not go pay any amount for that prepaid expense, because it's just merely an accounting entry. But the accounting is also right, because the accounting is done as per the Ind AS. So basically in the PwC, in any kind of big four, we do some kind of adjustment in the asset, we do some kind of adjustment in the income, we do adjustment in the quality of asset. Like this should be not be the part of asset, this should be not be the part of income, or like what should be the future prospective income, we do that also. So basically this is an overall idea of the what we do in the FDD. Yeah. So handing over to you. Yeah, Priya or Chaitanya.
So yeah, Aman, thank you so much. So a comprehensive background of what FDD profile is all about is what we have heard from Ayush and Aman. Ayush, I would ask you if there are any points which you would like to elaborate further if you have missed it in the first go.
Yeah, yeah. So continuing what Aman was saying, so the what is the deliverable for of an financial due diligence? Let's say we have performed various analysis on revenue margins or balance sheet items. So what is the key things which the investors are looking for in our report? So there are so FDD is a raw or is used further in valuation exercises. So the key product, if I have to name, is the mainly the key adjustment tables which we prepare. So there are three tables. So the first one is quality of earning. The second one is debt and debt like. The third one is working capital analysis. So what elaborating on the first one, quality of earnings. What we do is there are like we analyze the EBITDA and the revenue of the company, whether the numbers are sustainable. So we perform various analysis, like we remove the one-time revenue, one-time expenses from these analysis from the reported numbers to come to a sustainable EBITDA. So let's say there's a one-time expense of 50 crores sitting in their audited books. So which may not be incurring, which the company may not be incurring in the future. So why to give a hit to the company if the EBITDA is understated in the current year? So since it won't be there in future, so we'll be adjusting it. We'll be adding that expense back to the current year's EBITDA or the last year's EBITDA, so that it doesn't hamper the valuation of the company. This is from EBITDA side. There can be other adjustments also, one-time revenue or a segment which has been added or a segment which has been discontinued. So we adjust, we remove them because that won't be there in future. This is on quality of earnings. I'll move to the second table, that is net debt table. So you all must be knowing the enterprise valuation, the formula for enterprise valuation, or how the equity valuation happens. So having calculated the enterprise valuation basis whatever it is, maybe DCF, maybe comparable transactions, or an multiple of revenue or multiple of EBITDA. So to compute the equity value, we have to deduct the borrowings or debt-like items from the enterprise value to come to the market value. That is where this second table is used. So having said there are reported borrowings, but apart from reported borrowings, there are other items which are debt-like in nature. Let's say the gratuity expense, which is there in balance sheet, but won't be the company won't be paying it in the near future, or the existing owners won't be paying it in before the transaction happens. So it could become a liability for the coming owners or the coming investors. So why should they take a hit of whatever the previous owners have done? So that is why we adjust these. We consider this in the net debt table, adding the gratuity, leave encashment. There can be various adjustments like trade payables. So generally, we have 90 days paid period in various companies.
We ask
But-
a doubt.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ayush, just a second. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who was it, but we have kept a separate questionnaire round post the speakers.
Sure. No, not an issue. Not an issue.
Okay, thank you. Ayush, you can continue.
So yeah. So having said there are reported borrowing, we adjust gratuity, leave encashment.
Excuse me
there
just a minute. Sorry. Guys, any questions, right? Please wait until the session and don't directly message me. I do not know anything about FTD. So please stay till the end and ask them directly. If you message me, you will not get an answer. Thank you. Please continue.
Yeah. So there can be other adjustments also, like trade payables. So the company is not paying their trade payable for a year or 6 months or so. So these are what the company basically doing, is using these trade payable as funding or long-term borrowings kind of thing. So since these are not paying, these are being used in financing their activities or their day-to-day operation, which is not working capital items. So we adjust these items in their enterprise value and compute the equity value. That is where the second table is used. And the third table, the working capital table, we use. It is basically prepared to give an view to the potential investors. What is the working capital cycle of the company? Is there any seasonalities in the business, whether particular month has high working capital requirement or low working capital? We calculate the average working capital requirement of the company basis the historical financials, and like we have given the report, and the transaction doesn't happen immediately. It happens after, let's say, 1 month after the report is given, or 2 months after the report. As on that date, the investors see the working capital position as on that date. So the working capital position can be more or can be lower than whatever we have stated in the working capital analysis. So the whatever the shortfall or whatever the higher working capital, that has to be adjusted in the purchase consideration or the purchase consideration. So let's say company has an average working capital requirement of 100 crores, but the previous owners are leaving only 80 crores. So what will happen to 20 crores? The 20 crores would be adjusted in the purchase consideration. Since they are leaving only 80 crores, 20 crores has to be taken out from the purchase consideration. The new owners will include that shortfall in the company. And vice versa, if the working capital is more, that will be added to purchase consideration, and the owners will take it. Yeah, these are the three tables, key adjustment tables. Apart from that, there are revenue trends or margin trends we explain, so that it can be inputted by the management or the valuation advisor in their models to compute the value of the company. And then we have various other segments also for balance sheet analysis and other expenses to understand the trend, how these are flowing. Yeah, Chaitanya, over to you.
Yeah, hi. I just want to add on something on the point that I told. Like, I just want to give the example on the various kind of adjustments so that you will get a better kind of clarity. For example, we are going to prepare the current asset table. So, like, if you see the capital creditors, like the outstanding which are lying for the creditor item, or you can say like there are some retention money which is payable. So, for example, generally this is the part of the creditors which are lying in the balance sheet. So generally what happen, we deduct this from the current asset part, right? So this is reduce our net current asset. But generally the amount which is payable to the retention money for their capitals, like which we hold for the money, this is not a part of current liability. This is the part of debt and debt like item. So just we hide it from there and take it as a part of the net debt and debt like item. And like the cash, we also take the cash as a part of debt item. We reduce from the cash from the debt item in cash, but we know we are not taking cash as a part of the current asset. For example, if we take the income portion, so the in case of income, there is an income coming for the SD discounting as per Ind AS 109, or like the expense is coming of the amortization as per the various accounting standard. So just remove all these aspects. So good to know what is the actual income instead of what is the rather than the accounting income. So basically these are the adjustment which we are doing. And for the taxation, like various kind of taxation matter, there is a direct tax, there is an indirect tax, like what will be the actual liability, whether the discharge or not. For example, if someone is going to acquire the company, like any future obligation might be arise in the future or not. If what will be the, for example, an entity has not carried out any transfer pricing provisions, like they are considering that then an entity is not an associated enterprises. But what might be the happen in the in case in future the AO decided that that was an associated enterprise, and then he invoked the provision of the transfer pricing. So the DT team and IDT team come play on that role. They will advise, they will take care all of these matter. Yes, there is a separate team, but for DT and IDT, we all work parallelly. So basically, this is overall the idea, like what we are doing, what we are not doing. For another example, we are not doing any kind of accounting aspect, like what should be the do the accounting in case of acquirer book. There is a separate team for that. And the report is like not it's a one-time report. Like we have to update that report also. Like if we submit the initial report and the investor has decided that we are not going to acquire that company right now, but we are going to wait for some more time. Like what should be the SPA between them? So they might conduct a top-up due diligence with us after like 6 months, after like 8 months, or might be after next year. So basically, this is kind of work we are doing. Yeah, handing over to Priya.
Thank you, Aman. Thank you, Ayush. So I think we have one more panelist who is Arak Daga, who would join us. I think he's into some investor calls, so that is why he's not able to join us. But till that time he joins, we can open up the questionnaire Priya, can you open up the chat box for everyone, please?
So the chat box is open for everyone. Everyone can even unmute themselves and ask. So please one at a time.
I had a doubt about the one of the adjustments you spoke about. I think the speaker before Aman added something. One of the adjustments he spoke about was for gratuity and leave encashment, that along the lines that it is something the future owners would not have to need not take a hit for. Correct me
Right.
if I'm wrong. That is what the
Yeah.
adjustment was, right? So one of my doubts that let's say when a company is Reliance is acquiring Just Dial, so in practical terms, the Just Dial does become a subsidiary of Reliance, but the employees of Just Dial are going to remain in their employment contracts because the idea behind is that the business is going to be continue running, but under a different flagship. So the gratuity and the leave encashment, which have gratuity especially, which has been accrued for the long term, that is going to remain the same in the books. The acquirer company is going to have to pay it off in the long term. So when I'm doing the valuation, why would I not do an adjustment for that? I mean, sorry, why would I adjust that and add it back and not consider it?
Okay. I'll take it up. So yeah. So these are so let's say the transaction we are analyzing it for financial year 21. So whatever the gratuity which is accrued for last 5 years or for any historical period. So the acts were or the services by the employees were performed prior to the acquisition or the transaction. So this is the liability which is accrued for past years, and the new investors would be coming for future periods. So the company would be paying it to the employees in subsequent periods whenever it falls due. But since it is for past periods or the previous owners have already taken the profits, or have enjoyed the profit, they would have to pay for these liability by way of reducing it from the equity value or their purchase consideration. That is the logic behind adjusting it.
All right. So it's like I am going to be paying less for that, and I'm not going to be. So instead of taking so I am going to be just reducing my purchase consideration. So indirectly, I am not taking any effect as such.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Understood.
also just want to add on something point of the Ayush just said. Like for example, in that case, you are going that Just Dial is going to be subsidiary. Like then, what should be the happen when in case of they are going to acquire that company and merge in the Reliance Retail itself? Then in that case, the liability will not coming in the future now because we are going to retrench the employee, or now the employee will be the part of the Reliance Retail. They are not
True. So
going to be the part of
a
this.
new liability would be recognized in the books of Reliance Retail for that.
Right. I will not going to pay any kind of consideration for that liability because that pertain to the previous company. So it's a totally depend on what kind of transaction. So in case of subsidiary, your point might be right, but this point not be valid for in case I'm going to acquire that company and going to merge with the Reliance.
Understood, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. I think Chaitanya, there
So
are many
yeah, I
questions
would
on.
just
Yeah.
quickly take up all the questions. So Pratiksha asks about that she has done her articleship in India's consultancy. She's not much into audit. Will it act as an advantage or disadvantage for an FDD role?
Ayush, you should take it.
Yeah, yeah. What India's consultancy, what I understand is when the Indias were newly announced or newly implemented, there were separate department in various firms to help the client to migrate from earlier accounting standards to newly implemented Indias, right? These teams used to help in these assignments. So given the person would be having a lot of knowledge or in-depth knowledge of Indias, it would be helpful in financial due diligence because what we do here, we adjust these kind of accounting adjustments in while analyzing. So it adds an added advantage, but uh, it may not be for all of them. We have not all, not in numbers, but there are some persons which have come from the same profile and they were doing pretty good. And so it adds an advantage, I would say.
Okay, okay. The next question is from Yash. He asks that what all reporting is done in FDD profile.
Yeah, is Ayush already told that we are going to show what should be the income, what is the actual income, what is the actual current
So
asset, what is the current liability, what should be the adjustment, and what is the actual performance. We do various kind of analysis. So the management get a deep insight of the entity, like which are not prepared. Like if, for example, if you are saying that segment reporting is already there, then why we are doing any various kind of analysis? So the analysis which we are doing in any kind of big four or any kind of any other entity, these are the various deep they provide various deep insight of the entity. Like by reading the report you will get a deep insight, like what is the actual income, what are the various kind of adjustment you do itself, various kind of trend analysis. So you got the true position of the your revenue, your asset, your liability, your income expenditure. So basically these are kind of deliverable.
Okay,
Ayush, you want to add on something here?
I think we are good to go.
Yeah.
okay. Then the next question is from Aman. He asks about the average working hours in any big four in FDD department.
Ayush, you should take it.
Okay. Okay. So I think Big Four have pretty long hours during their peak season. So that is the case with audit as well, for taxation as well. For all the department, it's the same. But it would differ in the sense in FDD, like there's no seasonal period. Like we have audit for September, audit in September or taxation in September and November, which is not the case in FDD. It is entirely based on the project. So if you have a project which typically runs for 3 to 4 weeks or more than that, so towards the end of the project, your working hours might get increased. You might have to sit till late in the night also just to deliver the report to the client. So it's not something which is standard, but but varies project to project. During the earlier time of the project, you would have not that much hectic period, but towards the end, it would be it can be somewhat hectic.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
but I am sure on one point, like whenever a project has been ended and you are going to assign a new project, then there is a 3 to 4 days transition period that you will enjoy very well. Like you have not any kind of major work to do for that 3 to 4 days, because the project is already delivered. You already sent an initial report to the investor, and for new project allocation, there is generally might take up to 3 to 4 days. So you have 3 to 4 days chilling period.
Okay, okay. So I think Arag is there. We have a new speaker. Arag, are you there?
Hello. Yeah, yeah. Am I audible to Chaitanya?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, you're
Yeah.
audible. Do you want to define about what working hours about FTD?
So initially, yeah. By the way, sorry guys. I had a meeting with the investor, and that's the reason I couldn't join on time. So yeah, the working hours are pretty late whenever there's a project going on. It's like too much hectic or too slow. There's nothing in between in FDD. You will be working for 16 hours if required, and you might be working for 2 hours if there's no project. So it depends where, like, if you have a project in hand or not. Second thing, the working hours is particularly high for the clients which are not VDD, the vendor due diligence. The vendor due diligence are pretty normal, like around 8 to 10 hours on a day is proper. But for ADD and other due diligences,
Arag, are you there? I think we have lost him.
We can take a next question.
Yeah, yeah. Let's go ahead. So Ayan, I think this answers your question about elaborating on the work hours. Next question is from Yash Doshi. He asked about what are the growth prospects in FDD profile.
Ayush, you can explain it
Yeah,
better, right?
yeah. Yeah, so it depends. After having done FDD, so many of the people aspire to stay in FDD after having done a considerable amount of work here, and there are some it depends on what you want to pursue in life. Some people move to investment banking, some people move to private equities, some people move to various other strategy roles in other companies. So it depends. Like it opens various opportunities for you, since you know the in and out of various companies, various industries, how they function, what is there in their financials. So any good company would take you, given that experience. So it opens up vast opportunities for you.
Okay, okay.
And to clarify, I think Arag was mentioning some on vendor due diligence (VDD). So as I explained in the starting part, so there can be two types of VDD: buy side or sell side. So vendor due diligence is sell side. We assess the company or the target. We call it target. Target is the entity on which we perform the diligence, and the client can be the target entity or can be another one, or let's say Reliance. If we are assisting Reliance in analyzing Just Dial, Reliance would be client and Just Dial would be target. But if we are assisting Just Dial in their diligence, client and target both will be Just Dial. So when we assist Just Dial, it is called vendor due diligence. And when we assist Reliance, it would be buy side diligence or financial due diligence only.
Okay, okay. So taking up the next question is, maybe I think this is answered, opportunities in industry after doing FTD for 2 to 3 years. Then Varshini has a question about how are the lateral hiring opportunities for a Big Four employee. And second question she asks is also any additional qualifications would act as an add-on. So yeah, there's a third question also. What are the exit opportunities? This is, I think, answered. And is investment banking, private equity an option? So maybe you could take one by one.
I think Arag will join us.
Hello.
Yeah, Arag joined us.
Yeah. So I'll take up the question of what things do we need before the sorry.
Yeah,
The first
Arag,
question.
can you please give a quick your introduction, because you just
Yeah.
joined.
Okay, so guys, myself Anand Gaga, I cleared in November 20. I have joined Deloitte FDD in March 21st. So I'm morely into the BFSI industry where there are many mergers and acquisitions going on for fintech and NBFC. So in my last 6 months stint, major clients that I have done have been NBFC. So where we mostly the BF, to be honest, the BFSI industries, the due diligence is completely different from other industry, because here we don't give a comfort on the EBIT. We give a comfort, but we are not focused more on a EBITDA and net debt, but we are more focused on the asset quality. That is the loan assets and the particular income that has been generated, the quality, the NPAs. We are more focused on that. And when if it's other than BFSI industry, we are more focused on the EBITDA and the net debt of that particular entity or the target. So that's the brief introduction about myself.
So, before you move on, to all the speakers, we have lined up 20 questions and we have a hard stop at 10 p.m. So maybe we could quickly wrap up with a crisp answer to each of the questions. So anyone can take up Varshini's question, which I have just mentioned.
So Arag, why don't you take this?
Actually, I am not able to see the question here.
Okay, Arag, I would repeat the question for you.
Yeah.
She asked several questions. First is, how are the lateral hiring opportunities for a Big Four employee? You can take this up first, then I would repeat the others.
Yeah, so for a Big Four employee, the in-house employees are preferred the most. I will say about Deloitte. Deloitte prefers the in-house articles first and then take the references from other Big Four. Deloitte prefers the Big Four articles and those who have done the FPD profile in their articles.
So basically, the any guy which has experience in the audit or post qualified, he doing any kind of audit assurance, he's engaged in any assurance activity. These guys are given preference. Like if you have any kind of experience in the audit from Big Four or from any other good mid core mid size firm, or if you are coming from any kind of industry, so it's totally depend like any kind of particular profile. Like I'm coming from the DLF, so at that time there is a vacancy in the PwC in the real estate sector. So it's a totally depend from which industry you are coming and whether there what kind of work you are doing in that industry. So these are the basically the criteria.
Okay, okay. The next question she asks is also any additional qualifications would act as an add-on to get into the FDD profile.
Yeah, additional qualifications do matter, particularly CFA, to be honest. CFA, I have seen my seniors who have done CFA and then they get a good exit opportunity. And in FDD profile also, my senior managers, they have done CFA. So if when I ask them what, like, how does it help? So it helps in your statistical analysis. You get to in CFA, we have a restricted SFM portion, but in CFA, that particular portion is open and you have a more analytical approach to things. So this helps.
1 second. Hello. Can I ask something?
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
Yeah. You just said that CFA gave them a better exit opportunity. So, exit opportunity in what roles? Can you please elaborate a bit on that?
See, the
Thank
roles
you.
that Aman had mentioned, they are the same rules, but the chances of getting selected is on a higher side. The
Okay, thank
roles
you.
are the same, more or less the same, but the chances are bright.
Charu, hope that answers your question.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so the next question is from Neha. She asks about what kind of questions, like majorly which topics we can expect in technical round for a Big Four FDD profile.
Yeah, I want to take on this. Like first of all, you should expect an initial Excel test where they will not ask any kind of. They are not expecting any kind of like Power Pivot, Power Query, but you should have a basic idea of Microsoft BI. What is the Power Query? What is the Power Pivot? And you should have a command over Excel like on the normal function. You should able to do it very quickly. Like all these are some if we look up index match, various kind of pivot tables, and the major thing is how you are doing analysis of that. They are not only expecting like you can create a pivot table from that raw data which they had given to you, but they are expecting what kind of analysis you can do from that also. They just give you mostly like 30 minutes. Post 30 minutes you will be surely able to beg in pivot, but you should also able to do analysis of that table, like what is the actual outcome. So basically this in Excel part which is happen. And apart from that, you should expect question from the various kind of India, because basically we are doing the FDD part and various kind of key ratios, various kind of analysis. For example, employee cost should be the part of the inventory, or it should be the expense of in the like P&L, right? So basically these kind of analytics question they will ask.
So to keep it short, it is like you should not only know the VLOOKUP formula, but you should know how to use that VLOOKUP formula to get your answer.
Right.
So
Okay, so
I'll add on to what Aman has said. So apart from the Excel test, so given for a fresher, they'll ask you more about whatever the work you have done in your articleship experience, or whatever the companies you have audited or have done in your articleship. They'll try to try to dig various like what was the business of the company, how the company's financial performance was moving, or how they used to make money, what are the clients, what are the top clients, what are the top five clients, how much they used to contribute to their revenue, top five vendors, how much they purchase from these, what are the regional concentration of those companies. So you should expect a bit of these questions around whatever the work you have done in articleship. So that is what we do. Like this is what we do in FDT. So whoever takes your interview would be keen to know whether you have done such, you know about whether you know about all these things from your articleship experience. So Do you expect such kind of questions on in the interview?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to add on Ayush's word. I'll say you should know the logic behind the SFM formula. So basically, if it is debt to equity, you should understand what it means to say.
And surely they will drill down on your CV. Like you should not any kind of do bluff with your interviewer, because the for this profile the initial round will surely take up by the senior manager, and that will be next on that the director will to take your interview, which normally stretch from 40 minutes to up to 90 minutes also. So never do any kind of bluff, because if you do if you pass any kind of misstatement, they will surely drill down on that.
Okay. So going on to the next question is okay. Hi Ayush, I have done my articleship in direct taxation from Big Four. How difficult would it be to get into FDD? So Ayush, let me take this up because I had also done my articleship from international tax. So there's a good thing which I can share to Ramesh. So Ramesh, I had forwarded my CV to Deloitte and KPMG HR for their FDD profiles, and I heard from them maybe a week later or 2 week later that none of the director is ready to even interview you because you're not from the audit background. So this is what happened with me. But on a similar ground, one of my friends who had done his articleship from direct taxation, his interview was scheduled in KPMG FDD profile, and he cleared the interview and he joined as well. So I think it is difficult, but once if you are able to crack the interview, then you're okay to maybe sail through it. But I would still say that directors and managers in the FDD would definitely prefer a candidate who has an audit background. Speakers, over to you if you want to add on something.
Yeah, the
I think
DT
Chaitanya, you
team
have
is also doing parallelly with us. So you can also make in career in the DT also. Like there is an in PwC there is a separate department which is called like TRS, tax related service. So basically they are not taking care of the entire financial, but they are taking care of the direct taxation matter which are happening in any kind of like these. So for example, any DT, IDT matter which are coming to us across the FDD, we are surely referring that to the our DT or IDT team. So instead of FDD, you can surely make a career in the TRS services.
Chaitanya, to be, if possible, can you give a brief on VCS for taxation profile?
Okay, so I think the next question is about how it would cover Arag in the next question, I think. So how interconnected is the FDD valuation and M&A profile? So I would walk through what exactly the deal process is around all this. Maybe any of the speakers could intervene if they want to add on. Okay. So maybe for example, I would explain a carve out deal that would be the best example to explain all three profiles. So for example, maybe a company A has three strategic business units, and one of the strategic business unit is loss making, and it wants to separate it into a different company and wants to sell it away. So there would be a separate allocation of its balance sheet and P&L. A proper allocation would be done, and a separate entity would be created for that particular division. Post which FDD, VDD would be conducted, evaluations would be conducted. Once the final deal signing is done, the final buyer is identified. Then is what Arag mentioned. VCS comes into picture in the department to which I am into, which is M&A consulting, which looks after all the functions that is operations, legal, HR, logistics, supply chain, which would include the post-merger activity. So this we qualify it as a VCS profile, and it forms part of deal advisory, but this is a post-merger activity. So valuations and FDD are pre-merger activities. That is maybe till the time the buyer is identified, and VCS is a post-merger activity.
so, Sir Chaitanya, is it integration and separation
Yeah,
department?
perfect. KPMG calls it INS department, that is integration and separation. Deloitte calls it VCS.
Right.
Okay, so let's get on to the next question. How to get into the FDD arena if one does not opt for Big Four?
I think it's not mandatory to have your articleship or prior experience from any of the Big Four. Uh, uh, So big fours are from other firms as well, mid size, small size, anyone. If you are able to crack that interview, not an hindrance. So yeah,
Okay,
Guys,
okay,
even I didn't done my articleship from any Big Four.
yeah.
So it's not in any kind of hard and fast rule like you done articleship from Big Four. But even if you have done articleship from mid-core side, I mean, you truly spend time there and you have a deep insight of business, then you will surely select it for this purpose.
okay, okay. So the next question is from Charu. She asks, as a fresher, what sort of questions could be expected in the FDD interviews?
I think we already covered that.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think we have answered this question before.
Okay, so this takes care of it. Next question is from Raghav. He asks, is FDD for global and Indian clients is almost the same, and which one is better for job for us?
I'll take it up.
Yeah.
I'll take it up. So let's take an example of US FDD and Indian FDD. So these both differ in the sense uh, uh, the abroad or US FDD is pure FDD, but whereas in Indian FDD, what we involved a bit of audit work here in India. So that is where it differs. But which one is better for job for us if you are working from India that for a US job or US FBD that would be kind of a back end work. There won't be a lot of interaction with the client. So that is the point you should consider before joining that.
Okay, okay. I think this answers the question of Raghav. Next questions are from Arpit. So he asks first, are there sections within the financial due diligence sector like valuation, accounts, streamlining, analysis?
Yeah, there are various sector in the FDD itself. Like you are from post M&A activity in the FDD. There is a separate department for valuation. There is a separate department for direct taxation. So basically, all these are the part of the transaction advisory services. So basically, in the FDD, we are mainly concerned with the financial. What is the actually presented? What should be the what should be the amount for the investor? Or if we do for deep analysis of valuation, there is a separate department for various accounting entries, like what should be the adjustment which are to be made in the books of account. There is a separate department. So we can say for each and activity there is a separate department. Anyone cannot be expert in any area, in all areas.
Okay, okay. Okay, Arpit asks next that is FDD also pre and post due diligence, that is deal preparation, execution, and post execution activities.
I think FDD is a pre-execution exercise. So having understood the business or the financials of the company, then only you'll undergo due diligence. So it is a pre-execution exercise. After executing, that's a different department altogether. Like if we have it is called integration separation or VCS.
Okay, okay. Oh, so he asks next about how can we portray that we are fit for this role? And next question also is that what areas do we need to prepare for?
So I'll take this up. So in order to assess whether you are fit for the role, first you should have a better understanding of the financial statement, how the numbers move, how the numbers are affected, like how one number will affect two other numbers. First is this: if you are comfortable or you have a good hold on this thing, then everybody is a welcome for you. Everybody is a welcome field for you. And the second thing is you should expect a good test of your skills. So at 12 o'clock in the night also you should have the same energy that you had at 9 a.m. So because the analysis is sometimes can take hours and it requires the same level of confidence.
Right? You should be a great command over the numbers. Like if, for example, if I say even if there is a minor thing, like for example, you can take amount for TDS. So that part also is taking seriously on that matter because these reports are going to the investor. So all these, even the minor things, are taking very seriously. They are not going to any kind of oversight, any kind of matter. So you should be a great command over all this.
Yeah, and in FDD there is no materiality concept. So everything is material.
Right.
Okay, I think Arpit, that answers all your questions. Now, next question is from Sanjana. She asks that she has done her articleship from a mid-sized firm, mainly in statutory audit profile, and have taken 2 attempts to clear her CA final. I'm also a CFA level 2 candidate. Okay, she's also a CFA level 2 candidate. What are the possibilities of my resume being shortlisted by the Big Fours? I assume that you're asking this for an FDD profile.
So to be honest, see, being shortlisted is a different thing. Shortlisting would depend. See, what I have seen in Deloitte is first they prefer the in-house article, then they go for, look out for new candidates. So if you can reach, if you can forward your CV to the right person, your interview would be shortlisted. But after that, it all depends on your skills, your understanding, and your articleship experience that you can showcase in that 1 hour or 45 minutes.
Right.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it also depends on the vacancies. So if there are because less vacancies in Big Fours or other firms, so there are less chances. But when there are many vacancies in the department, so it would be taken. Uh, it would be shortlisted. What I mean.
And guys, don't be so obsessed with Big Four. There are various boutique firms, especially in Mumbai, which provide you the FDD profile. For example, Azars and Marshall, the Duff and Phelps, they have a very good, a strong name in the FDD genre. So you can approach these companies as well.
And you can initially start your career in the audit as well from any kind of Big Four or say Big Six, and then after getting experience and exposure after 1 2 year, you can easily move out to the FD. Surely they will give a preference that time.
Yeah, there are a lot of internal mobility programs in Big Four. This will help you.
Right.
Okay. So I think that answers Sanjana's question. Next question is from Karthik. He asks, how can someone who is shifting their profile from indirect taxation improve their chances of getting selected in FTD?
I think we covered this along with the DT, no? One of
Right.
Yeah, same answer, just short and sweet. You have if you can get your CV shortlisted and you can showcase your control on the number.
Exactly the difference between mine and the person who got placed in FDD profile in KPMG. My CV was not even shortlisted, but once his CV got shortlisted in KPMG, he converted that into a placement opportunity. So yeah. Then next question is from Kajal. She asks, can we move from industry to FDD profile?
guys, basically even I also moved from DLF to like PwC. So yes, the preference is given because at that time there is a vacancy in the FDD in the real estate sector, and I also engaged. Actually depend what kind of work you are doing in the industry. For example, if you are engaged in the corporate finance and if you are in the listed entity, you are taking care of the investor relationship matter. And similarly, you gain exposure in the like 1 to 2 year. You have a great command over the numbers. Then also there is a vacancy, for example, in the Big Four, there is a vacancy in the real estate FDD. So surely you will given a preference, and at that time you will given a preference over and above any kind of other candidate because you are coming directly from the real estate sector.
Okay, the next question is from Yash. He asks, what all things we need to see before acquisition of an e-commerce company with real life examples?
Yes, this is a very, I'll
So
say,
what I would
dynamic
say is,
question.
Arag, what I would say is, if anyone has a very one two sentence answer to this, we can answer it right away, or maybe Yash could align with any of you three offline on this.
To be short and sweet, for e-commerce, they look for customers in your sales.
Okay. So shall we move ahead?
Yeah.
So okay. So next question is from Chetan. He asks, would 1 year be enough to get a worthy experience of FDD field?
I think it should be around 1.5 to 2 years, because in 1 year, the beginning 3 to 4 months would get into understanding what happens in deal only. So a minimum of 1.5 years or 2 years.
And like I used to add on to you, it would depend from person to person. For example, if a person who gets the opportunity in the second month, or a person like you got the opportunity in the 6th month, of what FDD is, it totally depends on how much you have learned from your projects.
Right,
So
right.
it is very dynamic and very subjective.
So basically, it would depend on the learning curve of that
Yeah.
particular employee.
Yeah.
Okay. The next question is from Aditya. He asks to Ayush that my question is, when you said that there are many opportunities after FDD experience, that is, he speaks about the exit points, would management consultancy be one of them?
I think people have moved to M&E department of various conglomerates into various strategy roles. So strategy roles comes into management consultancy only, right? So I think it is one of the exits people have got.
And to add on, Ayush, people have gone into management consultancy roles of Big Four or the McKinsey's and BCG's also. So we can't, there's no restriction on where you can go. If you can showcase yourself, you can go anywhere. That's the simple and the straightforward thing.
Sweet answer, yes.
Yeah.
So Aditya, just to say about the MC profile requires employees with a prior work experience. And in the interview, if you are able to showcase your knowledge, then they would hire you for it. Okay. So the next question is from Ramesh. He reads, hello team, one question. I have done my
I think
article.
we've answered it.
Yeah, from Big Four. Yeah. Okay. The next question is from Hitesh. As a CFA student, what extra course can I do so that I can make a promising career in FDD? This is also answered by Arak stating the CFA course. Okay. Next question is from Pushkar. He asks, is FDD considered as relevant experience to get a step in investment banking?
Yes.
Yes, because investment bankers are so in IB we like it is an analysis of industry. So having got a good hold of numbers or various industries companies, it is a relevant experience. And even you can
To be honest, like for ADDs, the other than the buy side FDD, for the buy side diligence, we are hired for some of the deals. We are hired by investment bankers. So that is like they have a confidence on us, so we can jump on their profile.
and you can also move to private equities. It is also considered an relevant experience here in PE also.
I think that answers Pushkar's question. Next question is from Varshini. Okay, she has 3 questions. First is there any travel involved? A quick answer from speakers.
Yes, yes.
I guess you'll miss your home more.
Okay, so there is a lot of traveling, I assume, involved in FTD.
But the traveling is happen generally in the like major cities only, like because these deals are happen only for like in the corporate offices, which are mainly based out of Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Kolkata.
Metro city.
Right, in metro cities.
Okay, the second question she asks is, does the work in FDD vary across different location in terms of sector as well as quantum?
So the work in FDD is sector specific, to be honest. So the work what I do in BFSI, I had an experience of 2 clients, one in BFSI sector, one in TMT sector. The work that we do in TMT is ignored here in BFSI industry. It's completely different what we have, what processes we used to do in TMT and what we do in BFSI. So because the main crux is to understand the business. So business, it will revolve, it will change according to the business.
Okay. The next question, the third one is, will financial modeling courses help? If so, from where?
Yeah, right. I think for the initial level, they are not expecting any kind of major. They don't have any kind of major expectation from you. But you have a grip on what is the Power BI, what is the Power Query, Microsoft BI. This will be the advantage. But they are not for initial level. You are just recently qualified. They are not expecting advanced level for that. Even if you have a good command or Excel.
They just expect what you have you have done in your articleship and is it proper or not, and whether you're not faking your things that you have written.
Okay. So guys, just to tell you, it's past 10 and still we have 51 participants there. This is the first time we have seen so much response. So great going, everyone. Just a booster for you. Okay.
Chaitanya, I
Yeah.
think for the investment banking and other exotic profiles, you will need a higher Zoom plan.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So I think everyone's dinner would be on their plate. So let's wrap this up very quickly. So the next question is from Aman. Do you also get to work on due diligence of overseas clients?
It depends if you are lucky.
Basically, the target is generally based out of India, and the client is maybe generally out of India because they are doing investment in India.
So sorry, yes, Aman.
Yeah, so just the target is basically the Indian entity, and the basically that client is might be in various cases out of India, but you are basically working on the target only. So I think you are working on Indian talent.
So I'll add on to Naman, Aman, sorry.
Right.
Yeah, so I had the TNT client that I was talking about. The target was out of it was not in India. It was a Ireland client, and the investor was from India. So that experience I had, but due to lockdown, I couldn't visit the place. So yeah, tough luck. That's what I say. It all depends.
And it
Right.
also happens the company you are analyzing on has subsidiaries abroad or various parts of the world. So that way it is there. So when analyzing the company, you'll also be you're basically working on a console financial. So it would give you a good experience on the abroad company
Yes.
as well.
And if you join the tech sector, I think the work pressure would be ultimate, but you might get a chance to go abroad. You might.
Okay, so those who are planning to go abroad and traveling, FDD is a great profile for you, right, Avar?
Not a great profile, but could be.
Could
Could be
be.
one which, yeah,
Yeah.
right. Okay. So next question is from Harshit. He asks, will data analysis certificate course will also give an edge for getting FDD profile?
I'll take it up. I think there's no such specific requirement of getting this analysis certificate course, but there are since FDD involves a lot of work on numbers or various heavy files, so there are data analytics department which are coming up in present and will be boosting in future. So that is where these courses might help. And these departments are support PwC, and some of the team members are also part of the FDD team. So it is in hand in hand. Let's say one person is working on a data analytics department. He or she would be doing FDD simultaneously if time permits. So
And the big fours, they have their various what you say softwares through which you can crunch numbers and the data to be presented in a analytical format. The big fours have that.
Okay, so I think that answers Harshit's question. Next question is from Yash. I think this is the last question. Does it become monotonous? Are there sorry, as there would be standard tables and SOP workings for Big Fours, how do you maintain your interest in long run in FTD?
And I strongly disagree with that point because generally the project is happening completed in next 1 to like the project duration is 1 month or say 2 months. After that, you have to work on the different target. And for example, in the real estate, there is an each and every is working on a different part, right? So, like for example, if your target is DLF, then your target is Godrej. So basically they are all are from real estate, but the main area is different. The business is altogether different. So I don't think so we will going to monotonous activity.
Sure. I agree to Aman. So I've been doing NBFCs, but it's not the same everywhere. Like you will come up with at least 10 to 12 things new in every project. At least I'll
Very
say
hard.
in the same area that you have been doing it from past 2 years.
Okay. So I think this answers Yash's question. Then there is a promotional information from Ashay that if anyone works in India's consultancy profile, please connect on the number given. I think that we have covered all the question.
Yeah, we should wrap up.
And great work, guys. We had close to 100 participants this time, and we have answered each and every question with the hard stop at 10 p.m. I know that we have just exceeded it, but yeah, we have answered all the questions. I think any closing remarks for any of the speakers would like to give?
Yeah, someone is also asking about what is the Big Four life, like what is the working hour. So I can see Ayush Bora is online on the PwC network now. So he's going to work for next 1 to 2 hours. We are not going to sleep now, right?
Exactly,
Arag,
boss.
Arag, same with you?
So I see. I'll just rotate my screen if I can. I'll show you. I've been working with. I've come on.